Hi everyone and welcome to another video from Hostile Territory. In this video we'll be talking about something that lots of older people, especially my age and older, have a problem with, and that is younger people arriving to the company. Generation shifts, if I've again used the right term in English, are natural, they're common. That is something that must happen over time, but when it does, it can be a bit tricky. And this goes double in a toxic and hostile workplace. In this video, I'll talk about my personal experience, what happened to me. So hopefully the video will help you with that problem. So stay tuned.
Hostile territory.
Now, before we start, I would just like to say a couple of words about generational shifts in a company. If I've used the right term, pardon my bad English. Generational shifts means that you, as an older worker, will start to make place for younger people that are coming, and that will essentially over time take over your job. And I'm saying this in a positive manner. Generational shifts are something that is natural, it is normal, it is the way things are done within companies for the last decades, if not centuries. Generational shifts are normal within society, within families and everything else. It's just the way life goes. In good companies, generational shifts are treated very specifically. They have very good measures for this, and essentially what they do is make a smooth transition between the younger and the older people. They wisely use the older people to train the younger people, and they move the older people a bit aside, give them other tasks, less demanding and everything else. They give them less work on their plate, and that transition is smooth. The company continues working and everything is great. But in a toxic workplace, things are much more different, and I'll be talking about in the next part of the video. In a toxic workplace, at least from my experience, it's who's gonna eat who. Once you're over the age of 40, 41, 42, they start pushing you off, and they use that transition period, if you're dumb, to train the younger person, and that younger person pushes you out of your job. And when you're supposed to get that sort of more relaxed working place with less work and less demands, you essentially get fired. So essentially in a toxic workplace, what you get is this. You have the older people that are afraid for their work. You have the younger people who desperately fight to stay on that job, but they don't have the experience, And this leads to a big collision between these two groups. Now, where does my story and experience come from? Well, if you watched my testimonial video, I'll leave a link in the card in the corner or in the video description. You've seen what I went through in my previous toxic workplace. All in all, I had a really bad time. Among those problems, there was another big problem, and that was a big shortage of workers within the branch office. And finding skilled workers is very hard. At some period of time, my boss got a demand from the head office to find that sort of person. And it proved to be impossible, since there were two main obstacles. The first one was that most people didn't want to move from the companies they already worked with. We had lots of work on our backs to do, so everybody, when they saw that amount of work, they didn't want to have anything with it. And the last part was, at least in my opinion, the relations within the company. They knew my boss, they knew the boss's mistress, and when they saw who was working there, they didn't want to have anything with it. So that door was essentially closed for solving that problem. So naturally, my boss decided to search for new workers within his acquaintances and start to recruit people that didn't have any contact with that job previously and didn't know how to do anything regarding it. And of course, he started recruiting people from the bar he knew, from his family, from his mistresses, acquaintances, and everything else. And those were the kind of people that came into the company. But the important part is, and this is of course where the experience comes from, is that in a matter of 7 or 8 years, I think almost 10 people changed that position. 10 young people from the age of 20 to 25 perhaps. During this time, since I was of course involved in teaching those people, helping them and everything else, I saw some of the problematics between younger and older generations and where all of this conundrum starts. Now, this video again is leaning towards my generation, interacting with the younger generation, and I will start talking from that stance. If you have contact with younger people within your company, and be especially careful with this if you're in a toxic workplace, be very careful not to take the younger people for granted, especially the modern generations. And this is only what I've seen. Modern generations are very smart, they are very observant. They are very cunning, to say the least. You'd be surprised at how much people that are between the age of 20 and 25 have good thinking, have good opinions, very good problem solvers, and so on. The next thing I would like to mention is to not degrade younger people in any case. Don't treat them like they're your slaves. I will make an example, and I made a video of this specifically on this topic. One of those replacements was a woman that was dynamite regarding work, okay? And I made a specific video on this topic, how a good worker ends up in a toxic workplace. She did everything right regarding work. She did the work right. She learned very fast. She was independent very fast and everything else. But instead of recognizing that and employing that woman, my boss treated her like a servant. Go get me liquor, go get me that, go get me this. Don't do that because they wanted to cut her off from her learning the business. Also, there was the boss's mistress who did essentially the same thing, who wanted sort of a servant, get me this, get me that, go get me some food, and everything else. And they essentially wanted a busboy. Don't do that with younger people, especially if you work in a good company. If you work in a good company, again, help with that transition and teach the younger people what they're supposed to do and how to do it in quality. If you're in a toxic workplace, there's a different approach to that. Again, I made a video on that topic, and just be careful what you're doing. You don't have to spill out your knowledge to them the whole time, but rather be careful with giving your knowledge away, but again, treat them as human beings. The next thing I would like to mention is how to tolerate bad behavior from a younger person in a workplace, and especially in a toxic workplace. Well, as with all conflicts in a workplace, try to stay away from it as much as possible. In my opinion, the problem with younger people, and I was like this also when I was younger, is a big ego. It's just how things go, and it is natural, I guess. The younger person wants to prove him or herself, wants to do things better, to show off, and everything else. It's, again, a natural thing. But, that natural thing, especially in a toxic workplace, can be annoying. It can be dangerous for you. It can lead you to losing your job and for nothing and everything else. So all in all, it's a bad thing. When solving a conflict with a younger person, you must also take into account that they are much younger than you, 20 or some years old, and you're supposed to be the wise person and someone that will avoid that conflict and get your ego into check. Just for the love of God, because you're the older person, don't let your lid pop off and you make some sort of scene, or much worse, see the younger person as your equal. Always remember that you are the older and I think the wiser one, and just give it a laugh and see it as some sort of anomaly that passes. The best way to deal with this is to, at least in my opinion and from my experience, is to simply let it go. In my previous workplace, I mentioned that there was the boss, the mistress, and their friend, and they were close together. Well, that friend of theirs was hell-bent on employing his son. As soon as the young man turned 18 years old, he started, turning every stone possible within the company, calling people, telling the boss and everything else. And with the help of the boss and with the help of the head management, the young man, as the son of a co-worker, got that job. And that was pretty suspicious to me because there were certain policies within the company that forbid that, but I guess the head management had different ideas. He started working. His father trained him. In my opinion, he was a good worker and everything else. But what happened over time, this young man tried to knock on the door of my job. A young person of 19 years old starts patronizing, not kidding or something else, but starts patronizing me, a person of 47 years old. I think that's not okay. Then he starts telling me how things are supposed to be done within the work that I'm doing. Then he started telling me things about how things go in life. Then he started sort of treating me like his equal. And what I concluded on this part was simply he wanted my job with the help of his father and the help of his boss, and to push me out of the company. But since I had previous experiences with other acquaintances of my boss trying to push me out, I knew how to deal with this. My point on this part, with younger people, assert immediately who you are. Put your intentions down and tell that younger person where his or her place is. Do this, even if you have to, in a pretty rude manner. Do whatever you have to, depending on how bright that younger person is. The brighter the person, the more polite you can be. The dumber the person, the more rude you'll have to be. Just put them in their place and keep it that way. And remember this, if that younger person crosses that magic line of respect between you and them, it's never to be crossed again, okay? That line does not exist anymore. You're here, I'm there, and that's finished. The last thing I would like to mention is keep a distance with younger people. Some people are tempted because, younger people, they joke around, it's fun to be with them and everything else. And this goes double if you're much older than them. Don't mingle too much with them. You have no place among them, especially within the company. If you do that, your respect level will go down by, 90%. You will be seen as a clown, probably, and you will be seen as simply not serious about things. Perhaps you will want to bond with the younger people you work with. You're in for some team building and everything else. Just keep a distance from them and keep that firm stance towards them. Trust me, you will gain much more respect that way. So, what I've had the bad luck of going through, besides all of my other problems in that toxic workplace, is this. I was challenged by young people, literally. Young people came to me and told me how things go in life and I shouldn't do it that way. Someone who I can father, mind you. I've had the opportunity of seeing lazy young people not doing their job properly, but because they have the protection of other people, then I have to do their work for them. I had the opportunity of people attacking my workplace and trying to push me out, again, someone that is 25, 26 years younger than me. But on the other side, in a couple of rare cases, I've seen younger people that are excellent, that are very good workers, very sharp, very intelligent, and that are very, how should I put it, that left me simply amazed how they resolve certain issues regarding work. I think in life they do the same thing. So that's all that I can tell you. Again, the baseline of this video is this. If you work in a good company and a company that has good policies regarding generational changes and shifts, I think there's nothing to worry about. People will take that into consideration. They will consider your experience, and trust me, there is nothing that can replace experience. A younger guy or girl who knows how to solve things quickly, how to do those things, in a hurry, blah, 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 everything else, that is all not important. Experience and knowing how to react and solve things, that is important. Good companies will take this into account, push you aside to, again, as I mentioned, to less stressful positions, and you will be able to thrive in that company and give, again, the best from you in that position. But if you work in a toxic company, again, you're going to have lots of problems. I know I did because my boss employed acquaintances of his, and because lots of people tried to take away my job from me, lots of younger people, I saw the downsides of all of that. So that's it for this time. I hope this video helps. Again, in a company, experience is king. You, being an experienced worker, should be cherished, should be acknowledged, should be recognized, and if it's not, you should definitely get out of that company, which is the case in most toxic workplaces. Thank you for watching, thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.